A bakery-quality chocolate chip cookie is defined by its contrast, a crisp edge giving way to a dense center and ribbons of melting dark chocolate. Replicating this at home requires two specific interventions. We will brown the butter to build a complex flavor base, and we will chill the finished dough to control its structural rise. This process starts with exact measurements: 140 grams of butter, a specific ratio of granulated and brown sugars, 1 egg, and a precise mix of flour, leavener, and chopped dark chocolate. This approach treats the recipe as a chemical blueprint, where following a specific sequence of ingredient interactions produces a predictable textural result in the oven. Begin by melting the unsalted butter in a saucepan over medium heat. Watch the surface as it begins to foam, and listen for the sizzling to subside. As the water evaporates, the milk solids begin to toast at the bottom of the pan. This is the Maillard reaction, a chemical transformation that turns the fat into a rich, nutty flavor base for the dough. Once the butter reaches a deep amber color, remove it from the heat and let it cool completely. If you add the sugars while the butter is still hot, they will dissolve prematurely and break the emulsion of the dough. When the butter is cool, combine it with the granulated and light brown sugars. Mix until the grains are fully coated and the texture resembles thick, glistening wet sand. The relationship between these two sugars dictates how the cookie spreads and how much moisture it retains during the bake. In this MIT study, researchers found the sugar ratio determines chewiness. Increasing brown sugar correlates to a moisture cookie. Brown sugar is hygroscopic, meaning it attracts moisture, which physically slows down the development of gluten, resulting in a dough that is more chewy. Now whisk in the egg and vanilla. Continue mixing until the sugar granules begin to dissolve and the batter becomes smooth and velvety. By stabilizing the butter temperature and the sugar ratios, you have established the moisture content of the cookie before the flour is even introduced to the bowl. Now we incorporate the dry ingredients. Gently fold in the all-purpose flour, baking soda, and salt. Watch closely. You must stop folding the second you no longer see dry streaks of flour. Overmixing at this stage creates long, tough gluten strands. If you overwork the dough, the cookie will bake up with a bready, cake-like texture instead of a tender bite. For the chocolate, avoid standard chips. Instead, use a high-quality dark chocolate bar or couverture discs and chop them by hand. Most commercial chocolate chips contain stabilizers designed to help them maintain their shape in the oven, which prevents them from fully integrating into the dough. Chopped chocolate has a higher cocoa butter content and irregular shapes. Without added stabilizers, these jagged pieces melt into distinct, glossy pools throughout the cookie. Give the dough one final, light fold to distribute these chocolate fragments evenly through the mixture. Managing the mechanical mixing time and the chocolate fat content ensures the structure remains soft while providing concentrated pockets of molten flavor. Cover the bowl and place it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. If the dough is warm when it hits the oven, the butter will liquefy before the flour sets. This causes the cookie to collapse into a thin, greasy puddle. Chilling bonds the butterfat into a solid structure. This prevents the cookie from spreading too quickly, while allowing the flavors to concentrate as the flour fully hydrates. You are looking for the dough to feel cold and firm to the touch, indicating it is stable enough to portion. Use a 2-ounce scoop to form the dough into balls. Shape them so they are taller than they are wide. This vertical orientation encourages the cookie to bake up thick. Oven placement is the final variable. As this Cook's Illustrated test demonstrates, cookies on the top tray are often browner around the edges than those on the bottom. Place your tray on the middle rack for consistent heat flow. Bake at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. Remove them when the edges are golden brown, even if the centers look pale and puffy. This management of the temperature gradient, from a chilled core to a centered oven rack, dictates the cookie's height and its varied textures. Immediately after pulling the pan from the oven, you can add a light dusting of flaky sea salt to sharpen the toffee notes of the browned butter. Allow the cookies to rest on the hot baking sheet for exactly 5 minutes. The residual heat from the pan continues to cook the center of the cookie while it sits. Its interior to set and reach its final consistency without the edges becoming dry or overbaked. Following these specific thermal and mechanical steps produces a bakery-quality result with a soft, set center. For consistent bakes in the future, these dough balls can be frozen and baked directly from the freezer. You can find the full measurements and instructions